It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
Good morning. That was, of course, Aerosmith's Walk This Way. Aerosmith will be at the XL Energy Center in St. Paul, I believe, in November. The Peace Out Tour. Farewell to Aerosmith. I bet they're going to continue to play festivals or maybe Vegas, but they're not hitting the road after this tour, apparently. If you've never seen Aerosmith, it's probably worth trying to get into that show. It's one of America's greatest bands. It's one of America's greatest live bands. But that song right there, Walk This Way. Can we start right now with the lyrics to Walk This Way? Because it's a song we all love. It's a song people will be singing in arenas all throughout the fall and next year. But if it were released today, there would be all kinds of controversy. The lyrics to that song. Let me just start at the very beginning. First line of the song, backstroke lover, always hiding neath the cover, till I talk to my daddy and he say, you ain't seen nothing till you're down on a muffin, then you're sure to be changing your ways. Okay, Stephen, buddy.
Thanks, Dad.
Good.
Stephen, buddy. What? And I listen to that and I hear that and I'm just like, man, there was a time when you just really didn't have to hide things very, you didn't have to work hard at all. You know, the innuendo was like something he would sing in a lyric, like, I can't wait to be innuendo. You know, that was kind of his role. That was kind of his vibe. It still is, basically. Steven Tyler is that guy. But I'm the things that are going through my mind as I'm listening to Walk This Way, beyond the fact it's badass groove. Nice job, Aerosmith. Let's talk about this, guys. Let's just talk about sex. Do you mind? Is it okay? Is it too early to talk about sex? Everybody good with this?
No,
I feel so dirty.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's not too early in the day to talk about sex. And is it? And when is it too early in life to talk about sex? That's really what I want to get at. Because when that album came out, I was 10. And I can remember thinking, what is he talking about? What on earth are these lyrics about? Thankfully, I had a bunch of older brothers, and they were happy to let me in on everything that was being implied. The sex talk from my parents, honestly, don't remember it. Don't know if it was my dad. Don't know if it was my mom. Something tells me it never actually happened. Eighth kid, they probably figured, well, his brothers have told him everything he needs to know for now. And then, you know, when I'm 10 or 8 or whatever time, it was just, I'm sure Steven's figured it out. And then there was a heavy dose of Midwestern Catholic happening, so it wasn't a comfortable conversation on any level. But all the things I remember from my childhood, I don't remember either parent saying, hey, let's sit down and have this chat. When is it too soon? What's an appropriate time? And I say this because I also just saw an article about a sexpert, a doctor who specializes in this very thing, and she says by 8 years old you should be explaining the birds and the bees to your kids.
8? No.
8.
Yeah, show them.
If a kid's old enough to ask questions about where do babies come from, then you don't have to give them the full story, but you have to. She goes on to say by 8, but also there's a few things along the way, which is it should be something that's talked about regularly. You could remove the stigma by actually discussing it from an early age as if it's no big deal. It's just a part of nature like anything else. Like if you break your arm, you put it in a sling. If you want to have a baby, you put it in the thing, or whatever. I don't know. Maybe there's a rhyme there for it. But does 8 sound... Does that sound crazy early to have the talk?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tony thinks so. I heard Candace say too, because your boys are about that age. That's awkward. Do you think, Tony, your boys have already watched porn?
I know that they've watched like kissy videos and stuff because we check their history. But my older one probably.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. I think it's inevitable.
I think that's the reason they keep lowering the age, though, right? Because it's so accessible and it's so out there and it's so talked about that. Of course, it always has been. We're always talking about sex. We were talking about it at school long before Dad gave us the talk, which I didn't even realize was a talk till I was in my 20s and heard a bar joke and went, "Wait a minute, that was my dad's talk to me?" Now,
really?
I finally got it. Yeah, Dad, we were standing out in a field.
Wait, hold on. A bar joke, a wry comment in a bar is what made you. That's what connected the dots.
I think that's what connected the dots for my dad. He was, I remember a bar joke about something about sex. I'm sure Mom was like, "You got to have a talk with the boys about sex." I was 12, so I was already having sex with myself. by the time Dad came around with this whole girl-boy talk. But we had been talking about it at school, of course. But we're standing out there working on a piece of equipment in the field, and Dad's doing all the work. Chris and I are dutifully just standing there waiting to hand him a wrench or something, and he's fidgeting, and he says, "Hey, listen, you boys." He always looked at the ground when it was serious, You boys,
Yeah.
You know what makes a good truck driver, right? And I'm thinking, my immediate thought was, Chris, what did you do to the truck? Did I screw? What did I?
Right.
It's always about equipment on the farm, right? You're a truck driver. We, of course, go, a truck driver. He said, well, a good truck driver can pull in and back out without dumping his load. What? Okay. Sounds good. Remember that, Chris? That was it. And then he went back to working. And I remember years later being in the bar. I don't even recall the joke. I apologize. Yeah. But the punchline was, well, a good truck driver knows how to pull in and back out without dumping his load. And I thought, the sexual punchline to the joke. And I went, holy crap. I think that was Dad's sex talk.
That was it.
Yeah, but I was, I did, get some STDs. I did accidentally knock up a girl. So, but I never once wrecked a truck while backing in or pulling out.
Well,
very careful with that. I made all the other sex mistakes, Dad, just so you know.
That I can't even. That's a lot to process. I just heard a lot of information.
Yeah.
We realized early on too. We had a boy first and then a girl, and they grow up together. They're less than 2 years apart. They're inseparable. And when our daughter, on her 4th birthday, we realized, okay, it's time to start having a conversation about, if not sex, but at least anatomy and genitalia, because what she said on her 4th birthday, in the sweetest tone ever, with total excitement, she said, "Oh my gosh, when I'm 5 and I get my penis, then I'm gonna." and my wife and I and our son, all the 3 of us looked at each other like, what did she just say? And we were like, Marley, what? She goes, when I'm 5 next year on my birthday and I get my penis. And we were like, okay, I guess it's time to have the beginning talk anyway.
It's
about
on my
that.
birthday list.
It was just one of those, like, where on earth did that idea? But it showed, like, well, if you don't tell them, they're going to come up with their own philosophy. It's like they say, if you don't train a dog to do something, a dog will figure out its own way to do something, and then you got all kinds of problems. But one thing, this woman, I said, this sexpert quote, woman this is kind of what she specializes in, is these conversations. She does say, and this makes sense, don't give nicknames to genitals, to your sex parts, because you empower them. It turns them into something else. And she said, you don't give nicknames to your other body parts. And then I realized, well, we always did, and that's probably where we went wrong, because in my family, your tongue was the heat-seeking pleasure monster. And so, I recognized early on, I think we've made a mistake here. You know what I mean? Like fingertips, those are heaven's drumsticks. And it was like, hold on, what are we trying to say to our kids here?
The sex talk you wish you could have with your kids. That would be fun.
We did have later sit-downs with both kids at what we thought was an appropriate age. But we also did talk to teachers and other people at school. There were counselors. Along the way, you're like, hey, it's that thing where you realize, like, yeah, we love these kids more than anything, and we're good parents because of that, but that doesn't mean we know what to do and when to do it in the right way, because I don't know an 8-year-old's brain. I don't know a 9-year-old's brain. I don't know what they're ready for. So I think we got good advice. We definitely followed the advice from people we trusted, including our older siblings who'd already been there. But even at your most clinical, when it's your child and they're sitting there looking at you, and I mean, my wife and I are like, let's have this, we are responsible. We're adults. We're mature. This is just life. It couldn't help it. I felt like my face was turning red as I'm explaining things. I'm like, I'm mad. I'm like, I'm in my 40s. What's wrong with me? It's just no matter how together you are, it's still not necessarily the easiest conversation to have on either end, as the parent or the kid, I have to imagine.
Oh, no. Always awkward. Always. I had 2 daughters, so mine was as well. Tony, I think you should have your talk with the boys on the air. It'd be fun for other people to hear how a professional does it, how someone who knows what they're doing. Yeah, that would just
knows
fun.
what they're
and
doing
let us help
wrong.
Out. Let Uncle Brian and Uncle Steve and Aunt Candace help out with the talk. We can chime in.
Sure, I can use sound effects and music. Just enhance the experience.
Why not? All right, well, we're off to a fun topic this morning, the sex talk with the kids. Either the one you received or
I'm
the
just
one...
thinking nothing but penny whistle throughout.
Gotta get that. All right, sex talk. That's the topic this morning. Let's hear about yours or the one you delivered. Sex talk stories. 651-989-ROCK. That's the Maple Grove Lock and Safe Talk and Text line. Or we'll have something up. Probably Candace already has something up on the KQ Facebook page. Make a contribution. Mike Evans, Hollywood Report at 6:30. Hang tight.
My penis?
It's the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Wednesday, August the 16th, and it is 6:30 a.m., which means it is time for the Mike Evans Hollywood Report. Good morning, Mike.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, Steve. This report brought to you by Marcus Theaters. You know, I don't tell you enough about three of the best theaters Marcus has. The Oakdale Cinema, the Southbridge Crossing Cinema,
Nice.
and the Rosemount Cinema.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. Got to check them out. Don't forget, they all have great restaurants inside, along with the special every single theater of Marcus, the Value Tuesday, $6 for any movie. They're the best place to go see a movie. That's Marcus. And, boy, I got a lot of movie news for you.
I am all ears, brother.
You won't want to miss the documentary called Scouts Honor, which will be premiering September 6th on Netflix. And you better have a strong stomach since the Boy Scouts were organized in 1910, there have been approximately 90,000 criminal complaints of child molesting, rape, abuse against Boy Scouts by Scoutmasters and other Scout officials.
Uh-huh.
Who would watch that?
And it's estimated that maybe as many as twice as many crimes took place, but were never reported.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Yeah, strong stomach indeed. That's terrible.
This is one of the most shocking documentaries you will ever see. Again, September 6th on Netflix.
Shocking, not surprising.
There you go. This is just confusing. All this crap about the movie Blindside.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Yeah.
The docudrama about the black high school 15-year-old football player, Michael Orr, who may or may not, we don't know for sure, was formally adopted by a middle-class white family, raised, supported, given a lot of love. Between the time that he was 15 and a half till he went to college, then went to the pros, made millions of dollars in playing football. Mm-hmm. The jury is still out on exactly what happened. We do know, though, that the family did give him a loving home and education, and the movie Blindside was about his story, and Sandra Bullock, who played his adopting loving mother, she won an Oscar. But things get messed up. I mean, Michael says that he was never really, not officially adopted, and he wants more money. He says he's owed for the movie. But the family attorneys say that Michael Orr has tried to shake down the family several times over the last several years for millions of dollars. And meanwhile, some of these Twitter clowns are demanding that Sandra Bullock give back her Oscar as if she had anything to do with this.
Yeah, that's. I started a campaign to have Jamie Foxx give his back because I found out he's not actually blind and he played Ray Charles. What is wrong with people? I mean, the Orr story is at best sad, right? I mean, the best possible version of that story. It's still pretty sad. Whoever's right, whoever's wrong, something went awry in that family's relationship. But the fact they made a movie about it, which was heavily fictionalized to begin with, like most movies are,
exactly.
What does that have to do with Sandra Bullock? It's hysterical that someone thinks she should be involved somehow and give back an Oscar.
Unbelievable. And that brings me to the new Disney Snow White movie. We've seen extended press releases of part of the movie and a lot of interviews, and there's no other way to put it. This thing's become sort of a woke joke. The new Snow White star, Rachel Ziegler, who says the first Snow White movie, she calls it a shameful disaster, the 1937 film. She says that Prince Charming was a sex deviant who stalked Snow White and should have been in jail, not held up as a prince, and promises there'll be none of that kind of the story in the new movie.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds fun.
By the way, sure,
a disaster.
I can see that line of thinking, but then come up with new characters. Don't do we have to call this girl Snow White? Which by the way sounds to me like a Netflix show about cocaine trafficking, but that's just me.
I mean, this whole thing is like, wait a minute. I mean, I don't know. And if you're planning a vacation, Steve, I don't want you to go to Vegas.
Rest assured, brother, no plans to be there. But why specifically?
Well, because almost every major hotel in Las Vegas is now officially being overrun by bed bugs, and the Nevada State Health Association says that it has become a statewide health warning to people coming to Vegas that you're going to get eaten up by bed bugs.
You shouldn't be using your bed in Vegas anyway.
I've not experienced bed bugs, but I know people who have, and that's not an easy fix at all.
Just you can't imagine. You can go there and lose your money, lose your ass at the tables, and then go upstairs and get eaten to death by bed bugs. That doesn't sound like fun to me.
There are bed bugs, and then there's quote unquote bed bugs, if you know what I'm saying, in Vegas, Mike.
And I'm thinking Provincetown, Massachusetts, or Santa Barbara, California.
Sure, yeah. Beat the heat. Go to Massachusetts.
There you go. Hey, have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow. See you.
Thank you, Mike.
Or am I going Vermont now instead of Vegas?
Apparently so, yeah. Okay. No, listen, man, you haven't lived until you've stared at a butter churn for 90 straight minutes. So you're saying that when this is all said and done, you're going to have butter? Whoa. Why in the hell would I go to a craps table if we can watch you make butter?
God, if you're using your bed in Vegas, you're not experiencing Vegas the right way.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. The hotel room in Vegas is simply to go shower off in between gambling sessions. You don't need the bed.
No.
Come on, get it together, people. We have been discussing the sex talk on the morning show, either as a parent or as the kid receiving it, or as the uncle in the other room laughing at how silly your siblings are. We've all got good stories on the Facebook page, 92KQRS Facebook page. Please feel free to share. You can also call in the Maple Grove Lock and Safe Talk and text line 651-989-ROCK. Scott on the Facebook page says, you guys are hilarious. That's what HBO, Cinemax, Showtime, and the Benny Hill Show were for.
There you go.
I learned
I was with them. I Cinemax, Showtime, HBO, but then the Benny Hill was the unexpected X factor in that fantastic post.
It was Saturday Night Live for me. Remember the Killer Bees? They'd always have the Killer Bees in the very early years.
Yeah,
I think it might have been before that first season. The Killer Bees were at summer camp, and Johnny was buzzing off. He was caught in his bunk buzzing off. Oh, there's honey all over the place. And I thought he had peed the bed. And I went to school, and that was funny because Johnny was buzzing off and he peed the bed. And I remember my buddy looking at me and going, he was whacking off, stupid. And I went, oh, what's whacking? I don't, huh? Yeah, that was my introduction to the whole masturbation scene.
I remember, by the way, cue the fast action, large-breasted woman running around very confused.
I'm chasing
high speed.
I remember that buzzing off, and I was also confused. I was like, I don't know what's happening here, but everyone else in the room is laughing really hard.
My mom and dad, I remember, were upset because it was the first time they let us watch late-night television, or one of the first times, and I remember them sitting in the other room. They could still see the television going, Dad was angry, and Mom said, they don't even know what they're talking about. Dad goes, they do too. And I remember thinking, what's the big deal? It's pee in the bed. Chris did it till he was 6.
Of course they know. I told him the dump truck joke.
Yeah, exactly.
Candace, I believe we have a caller on the Maple Grove Lock and Safe Talk and text line.
Yeah, Tim from White Bear Lake.
Tim, good morning.
Good morning, guys. How you doing?
All is great on this end, sir. What do you got for us?
Well, you guys are talking about that sex talk that parents had with you.
Oh, yeah.
my dad was pretty short and sweet. He was a big guy and kind of had a way with words. He just told me, he said, Timmy, he says, if you're going to drill it, cap it.
Oh, there you go,
This sex
Tony.
talk
There's a
brought to you by
line for you.
ExxonMobil.
Yeah, exactly. Wetlands are now open for drilling.
Yeah, that is short and sweet. Thank you for the call, man. That's fantastic.
Lord.
Appreciate it.
Gentle touch.
Yeah, very gentle touch.
Luke
All
on
right,
the KQ Facebook page. Condoms are cheaper than diapers, my dad said. That was his sex talk.
Boy, that's and truer words were never spoken. I think we're gonna have a lot of life on this one, but right now it's important that we look back for a quick history lesson. It is August the 16th, and on this day in 1954, the first issue of Sports Illustrated hit the newsstands. It took a while, but Sports Illustrated then had a multi-decade run as the authority in sports media. If you're my age, you remember the joy of once a week going to the mailbox, pulling out a Sports Illustrated, and getting smart about sports. Long before Sports Center, long before even... CNN had a great sports highlight show with Nick Charles, back in the day. Long before that, it was all about once a week, SI in the mailbox. Absolutely golden age to be a kid when all of the information you needed, you got in, well, like I said, one magazine once a week. Life made more sense when I was 14.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show, Wednesday, August the 16th. Good morning, Joan Jett. I love rock and roll. Well, that's the name of the song. I'm making a declaration that I also love rock and roll. I'm assuming if you're listening to this show, you still do as well. I mean, come on. We're all on board, right? We all love rock and roll music.
Love it.
If you love it so much, why don't you marry it?
Good point.
Well, maybe I did, and maybe it was a mean mistress. Wait, what?
Yeah.
I don't know. Rock and roll broke my heart, Candace. Didn't you read my book? I love rock and roll music. It just makes everything better. And what do they say? What's the big three? Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Not so much druggy talk today, but a lot of rock talk and a lot of sex talk. And in fact, we're talking about the sex talk, the one you have with your kids or the one your parents or some other adult had with you at a time when it was important to get some questions answered. Everybody remembers or has blocked that moment in their life, either as the parent or the child. We have got a tremendous amount of hilarious Facebook comments, and I believe, Candace, right now, thanks for waiting. We have a caller who's been waiting to share a story.
Lisa from Scandia.
Lisa, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Great. Thank you very much. What have you got for us this morning?
Good. Well, so when I was born, my mom was 17, and I was the third child. And so needless to say, she was a little underprepared.
Sure.
And my dad was 21, and turns out he hated kids. And so we never had the sex talk or anything. They didn't need to because they made parenting look so miserable. I think we all just thought,
Oh, my God.
no, we ain't doing this.
Oh,
It
man.
does not look like fun. So none of us have kids. Yeah, no
Really?
conversation needed. Yeah, no conversation needed. It's like, no, we're good.
So were there three of you, or were there more after you?
Three. Yeah, there was three of us. So
And your mom was 17 when you were born. Man, poor dear. That's
busy girl. She wanted to beat the rush.
Yeah, apparently so.
Yeah.
Well, you can learn a lot by observing, apparently, and you and your siblings are a living testament to that fact.
That's the ticket. Yes, we learned a lot of, what not to do. So we spared them that uncomfortable, conversation anyway. So
Sure.
yeah.
Well, Lisa, thanks for listening, and we appreciate the call.
Yep, have a good one.
See ya.
I think that's the best thing you can do, right? Is just scare the hell out of your kids, maybe. That's what you
Yeah.
just terrify them long enough for them to figure out how to do it themselves. Sean said on the KQ Facebook page, or wrote, I should say, just found the stack of Playboys in my dad's closet. I love that they always hid the Playboys in the and the first place any kid would look, on the top shelf. Ours was in the top shelf of the linen closet behind the towels. Didn't take very long to figure that out, but I don't know if I learned anything from about sex, but I know that it made me feel good.
Well, sure. Yeah. There's we started the show by saying there's that experts are saying, by the time a kid is 8, you should be explaining where babies come from.
I was like cutting out pictures of Cat Fancy and putting them on my wall. I was
okay, fine, but you probably wondered where little kittens came from. I'm not saying that you sit an 8-year-old down and explain, the erotic zones of the average American woman.
Doggy
I'm
style.
saying you simply explain biology. And then the key there is also, it can't be a charged conversation. They have to understand, like, these are body parts. This is what they're here for. Yeah. Later, you'll use them for other things. I mean, if you can, but then again, this is a years-long process that parents are going to have to put on the mature hat. And let me tell you something. As much as my wife and I tried, it was still uncomfortable. You just can't help it. It's weird. It's like we were both raised in families where these conversations, if they happened, were just brutal. And no matter how much you learn, no matter how much you think about it, it's going to be a little tough on either end of that. We are accepting phone calls on the Maple Grove Lock and Safe Talk and Text line, 651-989-ROCK. But, of course, that is the talk and text line. Tony, text messages, any coming in?
Yeah, this is cute. My story, he says, wasn't the sex talk, but how my dad started it. He called me into the den and says, Mitch, I want to talk to you. And as I walked into the den, I heard Dean Martin singing the song Birds and the Bees. I said to myself, oh, God, the sex talk is coming. I was 13.
Oh, Dad, I brought it in with a tune.
Sure.
I love that. A little production value there. Not bad.
Talk about setting the mood as a precursor for when you're going to want to set the mood.
Right. Rat Pack classics.
Right, exactly. Well, our Gen Xers, we were basically left to figure out everything on our own, but we were the first generation, I found out, that they at least started to give us books, like here's a book. Remember the Shannon writes on the KQ Facebook page, I got the period book and the American Girls Book of You for girls. And then Ginger talks about the Where Do the Babies Come From book. Just tossed it at her. Here, look at this. She was 9, okay, when her mom and dad gave her the Where Do Babies Come From book. I just tried to terrify my daughters. That was the approach. Stacy, the mom, because they were daughters, she covered the period and the birth control and all that stuff. And then I came in with, let me tell you about boys. Let me tell you what they're going to try and do. First of all, if you're alone with one of those little biological breeding machines, the first thing they're going to do is try and cop a feel. And if you say no, then they're going to tell all their friends you did anyway. So even think about that when you get alone with them. They're going to throw you under the bus. We have to lie. It's a pride thing. We can't go back to our buddies and say we didn't get anything. And then, every horror story, every kid that got knocked up, story, I shared it with my girls. I don't know if it worked or not. Well, no, they didn't. No accidental pregnancies that I know of.
Right. Ryan posted on the Facebook page, first talk I had was me telling my parents I had knocked up my girlfriend.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. A little late.
And they said, what do you mean?
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry. We don't even know where you came from. Literally.
Yeah.
I don't know how the hell you got here, kid.
Oh, Dan said he never got the talk, but he started thinking about it in 2nd grade. There's your 8-year-old. I mean, that's not even an 8-year-old, 7-year-old there.
Well, sure. I mean, you're thinking about these things. You're aware of, I can remember being a kid and thinking that dogs were boys and cats were girls. Like I had that thought as a, 5 or 6-year-old, and someone said, no, that's not how that works, and explaining to me that dogs are both boys and girls. And then, you just start having these little moments that resonate for whatever reason, and you got a million questions. And it is obviously best to answer. My kids, the talk that we were more comfortable having, or at least because it was something that was we weren't terrible with the sex talks, but it wasn't. I can look back and say probably not as chill as I would have liked. But someone gave us good advice. They said when your kids come to you and want to talk about drugs or alcohol or sex, any of the big things that older kids and adults do, what you can say is, that's a great idea. Let's have a conversation, and you schedule the talk. You don't have it right then. You say, okay, you know what, tomorrow, let's do it at 2:00 or whatever. You put an appointment on it, and that lets the kid know, oh, this is actually pretty important, and my parents are going to focus. And it's a subliminal way of saying, this really does matter, and I'm trusting you with information for big people, and you got to step up. And it just set a tone that made more sense. I don't know that it worked, But I think it did. I mean, you never know till it's all said and done. You look back on your life and then go, yeah, that worked or that didn't. But so far, so good. I can say that much.
You get time to order a pizza, invite the neighbors over.
Exactly.
Yeah, let's just do a neighborhood sex talk, should we? That whole village thing.
There's a lot of comments on the Facebook page about people who say, I learned it all on the school bus. And, man, that is the truth.
Yeah, I learned life was on the school bus.
Yeah, we were talking about school buses yesterday. I had 1 year of my life, fifth grade, the only school year I spent on a school bus. And boy, did I get a lot of information to process immediately and relentlessly new information coming across the radar.
At the school, I learned everything. I was on the school bus for many, many years, and it was a long school bus ride. So what about, we talked about last week having a celebrity on Cameo break up for you. What about, letting someone like Charlie Sheen give your kids the sex talk? I know we have a caller right now, Candace.
Let me tell you, son.
Ew.
Winning.
Candace, who's on the horn?
Todd from Becker.
Todd, good morning.
Hey, good morning. How you guys doing this morning?
We're great, thank you. What have you got for us, sir?
Well, my degree is in health education, and part of the elementary curriculum, starts off with easily introducing sex education and the talk, with bees are pollinators, mother bird sits on the eggs, and then everybody gets the trout stream video. The trout go upstream, and he puts the sperm down on the eggs, and... so it starts early in the schools, and, people get all up in feathers about, they're teaching sex education. Well, it's basic biology at that point.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's a good point. I mean, just introducing them to how nature, goes about it, which isn't exactly how human beings might go about it. But, that's again, it warm them up to the whole idea of we use each other to reproduce. We're doing the work ourselves. No stork. Okay.
Yeah. But there is a gap there where, the parents probably should be filling in, or some responsible adult to,
So did you ever see, Todd, The Meaning of Life by Monty Python? Are you old enough to remember that movie? John Cleese plays
Meaning of Life.
Yeah,
I've seen Life of Brian and a couple others, but...
Yeah, there's a John Cleese skit in there where he comes in for a little sex education at an all-male boarding school in England, and he actually has sex with his wife in front of the students. That wouldn't probably work in our system.
I remember hearing about that.
Yeah,
yes.
All right. Well, Todd, keep doing the good work, man.
We appreciate you listening. Keep spreading the message. Keep educating them kids. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, man. Have a good day.
There's a big difference between biology and this is where babies come from, and this is how you please someone else. There's that's the thing too. It gets it gets convoluted in a lot of parents' minds. It's like my kids at the school my kids went to in fifth grade. They get biology. They get the first round of sex education, and it is simply this is how it all happens.
Yeah.
And there is, but there's there's body parts and all those things they discuss. It's not till then in eighth grade. Then there's now it's human sexuality. First is this is reproduction. Then later, and then and there were parents every year who, as he said, they get in a tussle or whatever, they get their feathers ruffled, and people would freak out. But at the same time, it's a question of no one's telling the parents in our situation. I had conversations with other parents, and you're suddenly going, they're not telling your kids to have sex. They're telling them that it's a part of life. And here's just a ton of information about maybe not having a pregnancy and this and that and the other. The moral side of it, the spiritual side, whatever, that's for the kids. That's for the parents. That's where your job comes in. But we're going to teach them that these things happen. And we were perfectly comfortable and relieved and happy with what our kids had. But, man, watching parents freak out about that coming up, it was pretty surprising. I'm thinking like, wow, when we're older parents, we had our kids when we were in our mid-30s, and our kids had parents that were much younger than us, like way younger, hipper parents, and they were some of the ones that were, freaking out the most. I thought, wow, this is really just always going to be the case. For some people are really wound up about this being a subject in school.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, although never, overestimate mom and dad's ability to make it as awkward as possible. Kim Thank you for this post on KQ's Facebook page. Can it get more awkward than this? For Kim, I was about 15 or 16, and my mom tried to give me the talk. 15 or 16. I told her I already knew and ran out of the room because she was trying to give me the talk in her bedroom while she was laying in bed in her nightgown with my dad laying next to her in his tidy whities. WTF.
Oh,
no, that's it. No.
Yeah, context is everything sometimes.
Yeah.
Playing some Barry White in the background.
No kidding. Oh, man, we're up over like 70-some posts on the KQRS Facebook page. Well, keep sharing these. You keep sharing on the Maple Grove Lock and Safe Talk and text line, the Sex Talk. You gave it, you receive it. Maybe you didn't. How did it happen? Get a hold of us and let us know, and hang tight.
Okay, come on, you kids.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show, Wednesday, August the 16th. Today we've been having conversation, chatter about the talk, the sex talk, as a parent or as a kid receiving it. It's never quite as easy as you think it should be, never quite as comfortable, never quite as normal, if you will. We can try to normalize these things all day long, but at the end of the day, we're all just a bunch of knuckleheads. Candace, I believe someone is on the horn right now on the Maple Grove Lock and Safe Talk and text line. Who would that be?
Jeff from Baldwin, Wisconsin.
Good morning, Jeff. What's up? Hey, Jeff. Yo, Jeff, baby. Hey, man.
Sorry, my phone cut out for a second. Sorry about that.
No worries. What have you got for us, brother?
Well, I was just going to say that if you grew up on a dairy farm like I did, you didn't need a sex talk because the animals were busy all the time.
There are benefits to farm life that go beyond the food. So
exactly. And then you, when the cousins from the cities would come to visit, you'd bring them down to the barn and show them what the animals were doing.
Yep.
Sounds like a new Netflix series. We got to get on this. Country Mouse, City Mouse.
Yes, sir.
Man, right on. Thank you, sir.
But he's right. As a farm kid, you were plunged in all that at a very early age. There was no hiding what the horses were doing. I remember my sister, 8 years younger than me, coming in one day and saying, "Dad, I need some help with these horses out here." "Well, what's going on, kiddo?" "Well, the boy horse, our stallion keeps trying to jump all over her." She goes, "I've been out there for like 2 hours chasing him away." Dad's like, "Well, actually, we put him in the same corral together. Have a seat, kiddo." But you were all the way down to castration. I mean, we did all of that ourselves. So I mean, it was, you kind of understood, what are these for? Well, they're so they don't get other cows pregnant. Oh, okay. So that's what those are for. And I've got a pair of those. So you're right. There was a lot of education right there in front of you.
This is a great show because we've made it like 90 minutes before we discuss castration. That's a new record for us.
Well, there's Paul talking about that practical thing. Paul here on KQ, after I was caught in bed with a girl, my mother had come home early from work, and she said, "Wait till your dad gets home." I remember sitting at the foot of my bed and Dad saying, "The girl you get pregnant's the girl you're going to marry." It worked.
All right. Congratulations.
Okay, fair enough.
It just scare the hell out of them.
Yeah, whatever it takes, man. It's funny. I dated a girl in high school who grew up on a horse farm herself. And, that's exactly what it was. Just in conversations, there was a real directness. Anytime something like that would come up, she had this zone she could go, or like a gear she could hit where I was like, well, that's really adult and impressive. What the hell? And it was just because she'd grown up in barns watching horses get busy.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, when dogs do it there in the neighborhood, they kind of hide it a little bit. You don't really see. It's not out there front and center. It's like, what's he doing there? But when horses do it, there's no hiding anything. It's, you can.
Well, they're proud. I mean, listen, we don't say that the old line hung like a draft horse. There's something to that. You know what I mean? They're you want to see something?
Oh, yeah.
Cool, baby.
Yeah.
Hey, Minnesota, here's good news for all of us. Minnesota has cracked into the top 10 in a new ranking of the best U.S. states to live in. We're number 10.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Top 10. Yeah, we made it. We're finally where we always thought we should be. This is according to Wallet Hub, whatever the hell that is. It's a personal finance website. Right. They ranked the best states to live in, 51 key indicators on living. That includes housing costs, income growth, education rate, healthcare and hospital quality. Those are all fairly important things to think about. And we, ladies and gentlemen, are number 10 in the U.S. of A.
Oh, you betcha, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm a little disgruntled to see that Wisconsin's number 9.
Oh, that ain't right.
Doing a little bit better over there? I don't know.
I don't know. I can hear Wisconsin getting all full of guff now.
Hey, we just legalized pot. That should put us at 8 at least.
I would think so.
Yeah. I mean, that's that whole best place to live thing, I guess. It depends how you're living. If you're eking it out, barely making it paycheck to paycheck, it might not feel like.
No, it might not feel that way.
Minnesota's always done, because we have great health care, because of pretty good school systems. It's easy to piss and moan about these things. I do all the time. It's I'm a middle-aged white man. But here in Minnesota, when you move around,
birthright, damn it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I do. But when you move around and see, Minnesota's got it pretty good on most indicators.
Hey, man, I'll tell you right now, I've bounced around a good bit in my adult life. Georgia, New York, California, Tennessee, and now Minnesota. And I'm only 7-8 months in, but quality of life, generally speaking, put it this way, my central nervous system, very, very relaxed since I got to Minnesota. And I say that sincerely. Everybody always thinks if I say something nice, like, yeah, you're just trying to be a suck-up. No, not at all. I would happily tell you what pisses me off about Minnesota. So far, nothing. It's pretty good. Right, I'm on a bit of a tear over here.
Yeah, no, not bad. We'll take top 10. Minnesota, we come in, whenever they do these lists, I think Minnesota does fairly well.
Yeah. Oh, no question about it. And speaking of Minnesota doing well, how about this? I just saw this article. There's a woman... is it Kasson, Minnesota? Is that how you would pronounce that town name? I believe so.
Good grief. I think you got me. Tony, Candace?
I don't know. How's it spelled?
Kasson.
Kasson?
Kasson. I would love it to be Kasson. Oh, oui. I went to Kasson to play some cornhole. Yeah. And when you hear a French person talk about cornhole, you got to watch yourself. No, but there's a woman from Kasson, Minnesota, Lexi. By the way, what a name. Okay, it's spelled Huge. B-A-C-K, huge back, but it would be Hoogaback. I bet it's Hoogaback back in the old country.
We're about to find out. They did a story on Lacey. You're right. Our first professional cornhole, I just said pro twice, but our first cornhole professional in Minnesota. Did you know that? I didn't even know you could go pro.
Well, you may think of it as a party game. Cornhole is a growing professional sport. That's right. Ren Clayton went to Rochester to introduce us to Minnesota's first cornhole pro.
Even among the pros, the debate rages on.
What, we're playing beanbags? And they're like, no, we're playing cornhole. And I'm like, all right, I'm never saying beanbags again. I felt so dumb.
No matter what you call it, Kasson's Lexi Hugeback is a pioneer in Minnesota, last fall becoming the state's first ever cornhole professional.
People literally come up to me and say, hey, I see you on TikTok, or hey, I see that you're the first Minnesota pro, or blah, 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 can I get a picture with you or an autograph? And I'm just like, holy crap, it's like surreal.
Like you might imagine, Lexi's bags career started at barbecues and parties. On a whim, she decided to enter a local tournament, and her career took off.
14 or 15, I made enough money in the summer to buy myself, like, a dog.
Like a dog.
A dog.
I mean, the story goes on, and you can find it on Fox 9. Or no, that was WCCO. I'm sorry. That was WCCO TV's webpage if you want to see the whole thing on Lexi. But she goes on. She has over 1 million followers. And this cornhole thing, I mean, it's huge in Minnesota. There's tournaments every weekend. I've already played a couple of tournaments this weekend. And on vacation with a bunch of Minnesotans out in Montana, we played cornhole every night.
Yeah, I played 2 this weekend, and I am so bad.
Really?
Like, I don't know what's going on.
Okay. I don't know. You go watch this. Go over to their webpage I just mentioned, Candace, and watch. She gives a little tutorial, some instruction on how to properly throw the cornhole bag.
Oh. She sounded so Minnesotan, too. That, holy crap, blah, blah, blah.
You bought a dog.
I love that. I got enough money to buy, a dog.
Yeah, a dog.
Cornhole to me, it strikes me as the game that it's really easy to be good, but I guess that's the wheat from the chaff. But good is not great. But I've turned on, I've been flipping channels, and I turn on ESPN2, and there's cornhole, and I think to myself, seriously, who's watching this? And then 1 hour and 7 minutes later, I'm like, I can't believe he blew that. This is terrible. It just sucks me in every time I see it on TV, and I'm like, man, I mean, isn't there a piece that, well, maybe not you, Candace, but the rest of us, admit it, you think to yourself, just give me 6 hours. I could be a pro cornhole player.
You do sort of dial in. I think the trick with cornhole, not at the professional level, as we just like to do it recreationally, is there's always a few beers involved, right? Yeah. It's like playing pool.
Oh, maybe
after
that's
after that second beer, you're dialed in. You know, you're unbeatable, and then comes the third and the fourth, and who can get tipsy and play cornhole the longest? That's the challenge. You got to have some beer involved, I think.
Yeah, that very much like billiards. My favorite pool hall moment ever was. My wife and my cousin and I were at this old dingy pool hall in Atlanta years ago, and we're shooting, and we're all literally having the worst day we've ever had at the pool tables. And then the second beer comes in, third beer, and all of a sudden it starts getting a little better. And we were aware of it as it was happening. Somebody actually played Stairway to Heaven on the jukebox, and as the song played, we just got better and better and better. And by the time the guitar solo hits, everyone's going on 3-4 ball runs. Rack them again. We're rolling and rocking. And by the time when the song ended, the fire was out again. Like we had this Stairway to Heaven powered run of great pool. And it was the combination. The song ended, and we were on our fifth beer, and it was all she wrote. Then it was time to leave.
Oh, yeah, you know.
Don't underestimate the power of Led Zeppelin, ladies and gentlemen.
No kidding.
I made enough money in the summer to buy myself, like, a dog.
What does that mean? You can get a dog. You
like
can go
a
to the
dog.
pound and adopt a dog for $60. I mean, where I come from. What is she talking about?
She's got one of them fancy pure breed models.
She did.
You know.
She did. I've got a Cantonese Shih Tzu over here. I paid $8,000. He weighs 1.6 pounds.
Yeah. That came up one night when we were all just sitting around riffing, like, oh, I bought this dog and I got a great price. Oh, what'd you have? $500. Oh, you bought him for $500? I can't believe ours was $2,500. And I'm sitting there. I'm an old farm kid with the farm dogs, you know. I don't know where they come from. They just show up or they're born or something. We weren't buying dogs.
Well, Brian, see, here, I'll tell you where they come from. When a daddy dog and a mommy dog love each other very much.
A stork brings you a new dog. I had no idea they could be so expensive. Dogs can run into the thousands and thousands of dollars. I had no idea.
It's nuts. I do remember the time I heard, and this is years ago, but when I saw that like every dog's DNA, like if you take a Chihuahua and if you take a long-legged Afghan, like their DNA is the exact same, basically the genetic code, they've just been shaped differently by breeders over centuries.
Mm-hmm.
But at the base level, it's the exact same. It is the same thing. Like you have breeds of dogs, but all dogs are the same. And I just thought to myself, who has time in a day to take one dog and think, well, wouldn't it be better if it could chase badgers down a hole?
Right.
How do we make that happen? And how do you make that happen without lab coats and beakers and x-ray machines? Because people were figuring that stuff out hundreds of years ago.
You're right. Back to the birds and the bees, right? We get this dog together and this dog together, and magic happens, and pretty soon you have badger digging dogs.
That's exactly what you have. So take that, Wisconsin, number 9 in the best states to live in.
We're coming for you.
I've got some great news here. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that our very own Tony Lee, this Saturday, Tony Lee from the KQ Morning Show will be judging Famous Dave's All-Star Barbecue Series from noon to 4.
Oh, I'll be judging.
At Famous Dave's in Minnetonka. Holy crap.
That's awesome.
Meet up with Tony and the KQ crew for free samples while they last, plus a shot to win your, not a shot, but a shot to win your own drum smoker at Famous Dave's on Highway 7 near 494 in Minnetonka. Tony with the barbecue judging on his resume.
There will be shots, too. Actually, there's free samples of Curveball whiskey. Thank
What
you.
in the hell? I'll see you there, man.
Please.
I'll just be participating. That's almost a walk from where I'm living.
Tony drives a hard bargain. Tony, you want to come out to this event? Is there going to be Curveball whiskey?
Right?
Specifically.
Well, then I can consider it.
Yeah, no kidding. God,
That'll be fun, man.
Yeah, it's going to be a ball.
Barbecue and shots, Famous Dave's.
And it's free.
It's
free event.
And so you get to sample the wares all day long, 4 hours of barbecue sampling, and then at the very end, you're going to go, give it to the guy in the green pants.
I will say to anyone joining Tony at Famous Dave's this Saturday, he does like to be touched.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but please.
Yeah. Feel free.
Appropriately.
You don't have to ask. You don't have to signal it. Just get up there and touch him.
Yes. There's a free fondling booth.
Oh, my God. Touching Tony Lee.
You're mental.
Speaking of Tony Lee, we're going to turn it over to Tony here at 8 o'clock for Alexa Theater. Your chance to win tickets to the Doobie Brothers this Friday at the Ledge Amphitheater. Prize provided by Mammoth Live. Our runner-up today gets hairball tickets Saturday at the Isanti Rodeo Grounds. Prize provided by Isanti Fire District. So we'll take two callers, 9 and 2, 651-989-ROCK, Alexa Theater. Dial up. Good luck and hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
Good morning. If you have any friends who live in isolated indigenous communities in Peru, rest assured they are not being invaded by aliens, but rather illegal miners with jetpacks.
What?
I'm just seeing if I could confuse anybody with that little drop. This is a true story out of Peru. There are some indigenous communities, very rural, and they have been complaining since July of literal aliens coming in at night, targeting and harassing villagers, even trying to make off with a 15-year-old girl. Investigators got there, and they found out that, well, this is going to be crazy. It's true. The perpetrators were actually members of illegal gold mining gangs from Colombia and Brazil who have actual operational jetpacks, like something from Johnny Quest. And they're flying into these villages at night to try to scare people away so that they can then go get the gold deep in the ground underneath. This sounds like something that, I mean, this sounds like a bizarre TV show from the 60s.
Right. That's an easy answer. I think it's aliens.
It's actually, you know what? It's better to just call it aliens, isn't it?
Yeah, it's. I mean, you couldn't pitch this to Hollywood. They'd be like, "Get out of here with that stupid idea, miners and backpacks."
I mean, that sounds like that's a Scooby-Doo theme. That old man was trying to scare them off for the land.
Yeah, it was, and he would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those damn kids.
That's what I'm saying, man. And I mean, it's just. But this is a real thing. These poor villagers. They're just, they're in Peru. They're in the rainforest. They've never read a book, and suddenly, like, miners from Colombia are flying in with those crazy, wacky flying machines.
I want you to do your Scooby-Doo again.
Oh, I got. If I think about it, I probably. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Not bad at all. I'm just excited that jetpacks are fine because we grew up. We saw jetpacks when we were growing up, but it was that one guy that couldn't quite land it at the Super Bowl or something.
Yeah, right.
They were always spinning out of control. They weren't going to be real. If the miners down in Colombia are using them, I want one. Are they affordable?
We can look into this.
All right.
I would ask you to. If you were going to go jetpack, just commit to not terrorizing local villagers, like just general. Don't go up, don't go out to the exurbs and mess with somebody who's out there on a farm. You know what I'm saying? No payback for your childhood without jetpacks on the farm.
Steve, I'm not going to make that promise. I'm sorry.
All right, I'm just looking out for others.
Have you been on those on the lakes where they shoot the water and
I've seen those.
Yeah, I've done that.
Have you done it? Is it fun? Is it cool?
I got a really bad wedgie out of the deal, but yeah, it's very cool. Once you kind of get the hang of it, a little balance down. Do not recommend doing it, several cocktails in, but yeah. A hell of a lot of fun. They do it in lakes around here all the time. There's some group that travels around. I'm sure a quick Google, find it.
Right on. All right. Well, speaking of finding it, there's no real segue there. You know what? We got Doobie Brothers tickets. Friday, August 18th at the Ledge Amphitheater. Doobie Brothers Live. We've also got tickets to see Hairball Saturday at the Isanti Rodeo Grounds. There are 2 sets of tickets on the docket. Doobie Brothers for the winner. Hairball tickets for the runner-up. Oh, what am I talking about? Oh, it's a game we're going to play with a couple of listeners. Tony, what is today's competition?
This is always fun. Let's hear from our girl, Alexa.
It's time for me.
Yeah, Alexa is multi-talented. We know that. And now she puts her acting talent on display here. Today we're going to feature Returning to School. The movies are Animal House and Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Alexa reads lines, and you guess which movie it's from.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
I'll just go ahead and say right now, I will bat 1,000 today.
Mm-hmm.
I've spent way too much time with both of those movies in my life. Or is there really any such thing? Can you have enough time with either of these movies?
No.
I put it to you, Greg. Sorry, there I go. All right, let's get to it. Candace, who is contestant number 1?
We have Doug from Victoria.
Doug, good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. How are you today?
Excellent, thank you. Have you seen both Animal House and Fast Times at Ridgemont High?
I have, as a matter of fact.
All right, well, then you are in the right place, my man. There are Doobie Brothers tickets in the balance. Let's take it away. Tony's going to play you a clip from Alexa, and you tell us which film it's from. Tony?
All right, Mr. Man, here's your first cut.
All I need is some tasty waves, a cool buzz, and I'm fine.
That sounds like Jess Spicoli.
You are
From
correct.
Fast
That's
Times at Ridgemont High.
That's Fast Times. Absolutely, sir.
Not only the movie, but the character behind the line. Well played, Doug.
Mm-hmm. Here's your next one.
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
Oh, it's not?
Bravo.
Keep proving
Bonus
them wrong.
points.
That sounds like Animal House.
Damn straight it is,
Absolutely.
Mr. Dean Vernon Wormer.
You're doing very well. Your next cut. Very proud of you.
You're all worthless and weak. Now drop and give me 20.
Oh.
You
I
wanna
don't
hear-
even think I could do 20 push-ups, but that sounds like something that Militant would do on Animal House.
Bam.
He
That's
knows-
right. Animal House. Douglas C. Niedermeyer.
He knows his animal.
Okay.
House.
Didn't he do the Twisted Sister videos too, didn't he?
He sure did.
That's right.
No
All right,
bonus
That
points.
actor's name is Doug as well, if memory serves.
Oh, giving me a good name.
There you go.
Here you go, Pally.
Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? Hell, no.
Hell no.
Huh. I don't remember that one.
Uh-oh.
Give it a
I
run.
know. Now I'm in trouble. I mean, you guys got me stumped here.
You want to hear it
You
again?
know,
Here it is again.
Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? Hell, no.
Animal
I'm
House
gonna
or
go
Fast
with,
Times?
Fast Times.
No, and he was on such a roll. Just the next line. Yeah. You've never been to a Wild game, have you? They always play that when there's, they're
Hey,
down
you
a
know-
goal, 3 minutes left.
I was on before, and I had a saying. You got to get up pretty late in the afternoon to pull one over on Dougie.
That line courtesy of Pennsylvania Senator John Blutarski.
Yes. Dougie, you
I don't
got
think
to.
it's late in the afternoon yet, man. You got me on that one.
All right.
Gummit. All right, 3 for 4. No slouch. Come on, keep it going. Let's turn this back around.
2 more chances here, mister.
That was my skull. I'm so wasted. That was my skull. I'm so wasted.
So that sounds like Fast Times.
Yes, it does.
Can't believe I missed that one.
So, hey, man, 4 for 5. Nothing to, feel bad
Hey,
about.
we're
You
all
got
going to be winners today. Hairball's good, too.
you got one last shot to solidify your ranking, sir.
Here's your last one.
Food fight. Food fight.
Animal House.
Yes.
Bam.
Very good. Did
It's been a
very
long
well.
time since I've seen them movies, too. I'm surprised I did that well.
No, you did. Doug don't know much about history, but he knows about food fights.
I should have rammed the table.
Came damn
That's the
close.
song. That's the song that was playing. Don't know much about history. As Belushi's just shoving food into his gullet like nothing you've ever seen.
That's what I am now.
Pretty incredible. All right, Doug, great job, brother. 5 for 6. We're going to put you on hold. Candace, who's contestant number 2?
Brad from Chippewa Falls.
Brad from Chippewa Falls. What's up, brother?
Oh, I don't know. I was watching Celebrity Jeopardy last night, and there's some guy that always kicks butt. His name's James.
Okay.
He has this line, so I'll just say it. Bring it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Quote
Shout
James.
out to James. Brad says, bring it. We're going to bring it. Have you seen both Animal House and Fast Times?
I have. I got all the answers right on that first round. I don't know how I'll do in this one.
All right. I like it, man. He says, bring it. We're going to bring it. Tony?
Here you go. We'll bring it right now.
Try and guess what I am. I'm a zit. Get it? Try and guess what I am. I'm a zit. Get it?
Animal House, John Belushi.
There it is. Bang. 1 for 1.
He shoots it all over Bambi.
He sure does.
Yes, he does.
Is that the Italian pronunciation, Belushi?
Yes.
Belushi.
He's Sicilian. All right, here's your next cut.
My advice to you is to start drinking heavily. My advice to you is to start drinking heavily.
Animal House.
Eric Otter Stratton. Responsible for that line.
Exactly.
A man, by the way, also the voice of Johnny Quest as a young kid.
Oh,
Tim Matheson.
yes,
Go
you're
figure.
right.
That's right. Otter from Animal House was the voice of Johnny Quest. That's a good living right there.
Oh, best cartoon ever.
I heard that Hachi's not doing too well.
No, Haji's under the weather.
His faithful Indian companion? Yeah, had a hard time.
Yeah,
Haji.
And Bandit kind of bit it.
Oh, Bandit's been gone forever. Come on.
Haji,
We know how that works.
The streetwise Hindu boy. All right, here's your next cut.
When it comes to making out, whenever possible, put on side 1 of Led Zeppelin 4. When it comes to making out, whenever possible, put on side 1 of Led Zeppelin 4.
Well, I'm going to go with Fast Times. I'm not sure what year that album came out.
Good thinking. It was certainly after 1963, which I believe is when Animal House took place. So Fast Times is the right answer, sir.
Thank you.
All right,
Got
3
that
more
right.
for you. Here we go.
Am I hallucinating here? Just what in the hell do you think you're doing? Learning about Cuba and having some food.
Oh, Jeff Spicoli sitting in the classroom when he ordered the pizza, and his teacher's asking him.
And Tony, who played the teacher?
Ray Walston.
That's right. My favorite
Ray or
Martian.
Roy or Ray?
Yeah.
My favorite Martian was Mr. Hand.
Yes.
All right, Brad, you're 4 for 4. Well done so far, brother.
2 more.
Otis, my man. Otis, my man.
He's sitting on the dock of the bay, Animal House.
Wow.
These guys are just showing off now.
No kidding. I'll be honest. I have stepped into many an elevator and said, Otis, my man, because that's just what kind of a dork I am.
Yes.
All right, Brad, this is for Doobie Brothers tickets. If you get this one, you'll go 6 for 6, which is going to be an impressive run today with Doug already going 5 for 6. Good luck to you, sir.
Good luck, Brad.
Toga, 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 toga.
Doug, I got some bad news for you.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Woo! Man, that's great job, Brad. 6 for 6, a clean sweep. Well done, sir.
How'd you like that for bad news? I have some bad news for you. You're going to Hairball. That's my kind of bad news.
Yeah, that is good bad news. Brad, congrats. You got Doobie Brothers tickets Friday, August 18th at the Ledge Amphitheater. Prize provided by Mammoth Live. Doug, Hairball Brothers Saturday at the Isanti Rodeo Grounds. Prize provided by the Isanti Fire District. Gentlemen,
Yeah,
that's as good as it gets around here. Well done, both of you. You got it. Man, golly. I there's nothing quite like Alexis going, toga, toga, toga.
Toga. Yeah, it really takes the fun out of it, doesn't it? It's hard to get that crowd whipped up with toga, toga.
You just picture Belushi. Toga, toga. It's like his most caveman moment of the movie where the timbre in his voice changes even, and then Alexa, toga, toga, toga. It was great.
Food fight. Food fight.
That is good living right there.
Yes,
those
sir.
two movies together. Jeez.
No kidding. Well, we've been talking a lot about the talk this morning. If you have a sex talk you want to share with us on the KQRS Facebook page, it's awfully entertaining to go through. If you have to kill some time at work today, it's a great post to check out. If you're killing some time at work today, I love this topic. It's better than, it's getting hot out again, isn't it? State Fair's coming up. You going? How about the top historical events you would visit if you could time travel? I love it because you think of one and then go, oh, no, that too. It really gets the mind racing. The top historical events we'd visit if we could time travel. They polled 2,000 people. We'll have those results for you at 8:30. Hang tight.
Hey, Mom! The meatloaf!
It's the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Wednesday, August the 16th. And on this day in 1977, we lost the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley. He was 42 years old. He died on the Turtlet at Graceland. My man was in very poor health. Only a couple months after his last ever performance, he was still able to sing, was not able to poo. And that is really a difficult place to be in life. The king of rock and roll, literally. I mean, and a death with little dignity. But man, what a life while he had it. A lot of people, if given the chance to go anywhere in history, say they'd go back to a time shortly before August 16th, 1977, and they would hand Elvis some Console or maybe some Metamucil. Yeah. Just like, hey, dude, mix a little bit of this in. It's going to help us all a lot. Right. Trust me when I say that. And I mention this because there's an interesting little article we're perusing here on the show about historical events we would see in person if we could. If you could travel back in time, where would you go? And first things first, the top picks in order. People, this is a poll of thousands of Americans, and they had two atop the list. First was ancient Egypt.
Yeah, that's a big one. People are fascinated by it.
I'm sorry. Does the word asp not mean anything to anybody?
Well, see, that's the caveat here, right? Since we're fantasizing, it'd have to be safe. I mean, if you want to go see a famous battle, say the Battle of Gettysburg, you don't want to be plopped down right there in the middle of Pickett's Field.
Right, sure.
You know?
Well, the American Revolution is the other thing on the list. Ancient Egypt, asp-laden Egypt without air conditioning, and then the American Revolution, which is, guys, crossing rivers on Christmas morning with frostbite. I mean, either one.
Brutal.
That was kind of shocking to me. And so, but it's interesting to think about, like, what would you like to go back and actually, if you could be in the room when it happened, as they sing in Hamilton, where would you like to go? What would you actually like to see? Here's the list. Okay, ancient Egypt, the American Revolution. That's 1 and 2. Ancient Greece. How about this one? The Viking Age.
Oh, boy. Yeah, man up there.
Just grab a stick and walk out in the winter.
Yeah,
there's nothing else to see.
Go to Norway any time of the year and then just walk for a half hour. You're out there.
That's exactly right.
You'll quickly understand why the Vikings decided to get the hell out of there and invade every other country and land available. But yeah, you're right. I suppose they want to see, I think it would surprise a lot of people, right? When you really dig into the history and the facts of it, you're not going to see any horned helmets, You're not going to see any of that fun stuff that we associate with the Viking Age mostly. You're going to see gore, because I thought about that too. I thought, I'm just a bloodthirsty American man. I want to go to all these great battles, but then I thought, I'm just going to watch people chopping each other up. The Battle of Hastings, can you imagine that in 1066? They're literally hacking each other to death with swords and, and axes and that sort of thing. No, I think I might take it a different direction myself. What were some of the big parties? Woodstock would be a fun one. Monterey, Pop Festival, maybe.
Cool. I would go to Live Aid and see Queen.
Live Aid? Oh, yeah, Queen at Live Aid. That would be
sure.
A great one. Yeah, no doubt.
That would, I have a buddy, a guy I'm still friends with. He was in the front row there, and if you look at photos taken from the stage, you can see him in a lot of pictures.
Oh,
Yeah, Randy Blazak, a good buddy of mine from Atlanta, was in London that summer and got in and was literally right up front. And anytime I see a photo, I'm like, I can't believe I know a dude who was there while I was unloading a grocery truck and missed the whole thing.
Where would you go, Steve-O, when in history?
The first thought I had was Beatles rooftop concert. Because probably because so few people were actually there, and it's obviously the last time they played together like that. But yeah, I thought of things that were not nearly as significant as, say, ancient Egypt. I thought Beatles rooftop. And then Miracle on Ice at Lake Placid. Well, that'd be a pretty good one to see, wouldn't it?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, spoiler alert, you'd know what's going to happen. You'd be the one person sitting there with your arms crossed going, relax, we got this, you guys.
I know what it felt like. I know what it felt like in a high school basketball gymnasium in Kentucky when the PA announcer announced at halftime, the U.S. hockey team just beat Russia. And we all lost our minds like we like we knew anything about hockey, or it was just one of those. But we couldn't get over it. We were a crowd at a basketball game was all chanting USA, and then everyone left because the guy also said ABC's going to replay the whole game, and we all drove home to watch a hockey game that we knew how it was going to end, and we waited and watched the whole thing.
Hell, I still watch it sometimes.
So, of course, if you put that when you put that on and you hear, obviously, do you believe in miracles? The whole last minute of that game is so frantic and frenetic. To be in that room, though, I mean, that would really be something. I do have, you know what I just thought of? This is great because the more you think, the more you don't think. What about being at Kitty Hawk the first time the Wright brothers flew?
Yeah.
That'd be a pretty good one.
Yeah, it's up in the air, and there it goes. Again, it'd be a little underwhelming because we've seen rockets go into space and this sort of thing, but there you'd know you were watching something that was, as significant as anything that's happened on this planet to change and evolve it. What about, back in the day, I remember reading that you could just walk into the White House in the 19th century and say, hey, is Lincoln here? Is Prez here? I've got a couple of ideas. That you could walk in and that day make an appointment to speak with President Lincoln.
Yeah, that whole thing of it being the people's house, that was actually a thing for a while.
Yeah, I would love, wouldn't it be cool to just saunter in? Is Abe in? Yeah, he's in the office there, and go in and sit down. And so, Abe, what's shaking, buddy?
I'd steal his hat.
I read something, and maybe you guys can laugh at me or tell me I'm right or whatever, but the term lobbying, they're a lobbyist. That whole concept came when President Ulysses S. Grant, after being General Grant, when he was president, there was a hotel around the corner from the White House, and he used to go sit in the parlor or the lobby and have a cocktail every day, and people knew he was there, so they would approach him to try to influence policy.
Interesting.
And it was in the lobby, and that's literally where the term was born. Somebody out there, please, some history teacher, call in and tell me I'm an idiot for repeating such a stupid rumor. But the article I read, it actually kind of added up. It made sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. Well, going back and watching one of the great, if you could hang with some people, how about Da Vinci for a day in the shop? What's he up to today?
Spill something on one of his canvases.
That would not be bad.
I'm sorry.
What about, I would just like to go back and see Jim Morrison, grocery shop. In the store, just do a normal task.
Are you sure you wouldn't want to see him at the Hollywood Bowl or something? Just grocery shopping. What if he just farts, picks his nose?
Perfect.
All right.
Deviled ham.
Yeah, right, exactly.
What does he order from the deli?
Why do we call it summer squash? Who are we trying to squash? Is it a reference to the summer heat? The lizard knows about the heat.
Yeah,
I can see that coming all day long. Candace, what song one song in rock history for you to be in the studio as it's being recorded?
Ooh, wow.
Oh boy, think Stevie, think Lindsay. Think Jim. Come on, go back to all the big ones. Who's it going to be? Or is it going to be simply... Is it going to be Ozzy and the boys putting the song Black Sabbath down, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
I thought you'd go with Bop by Hanson.
Have you ever
I was
been,
not a Hanson girl.
Have you ever been with a band when they're recording a song? I've been invited in a couple of times. Steve, I don't know if you've experienced this or not, but...
I've always wanted to get into a studio. I hear it's magic in there.
Here's what I've learned is it's incredibly tedious and boring. You might watch one person play something 8 hours, and then they go walk around, have a cigarette, and then do it again. And it's such a process. We think it's probably so magical, but it would be. Hey,
well, it depends on the vibe. If you were at a Stone session for Exile on Main Street at a villa in the south of France, I doubt it felt too tedious. You were
Headley Grange,
the tedious thing would be just waiting for the drugs to kick in. Come on, guys. Let's whip up some magic here.
I watched Get Back with the Beatles. They were all getting cocktails pretty early in the day. That looked like a fun place to hang out there, that Apple Studios at Abbey Road. And, I'll take a mimosa, too, and some toast and jam.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the key to the Beatles' success was always the toast.
Yeah.
Plenty of toast right there. I would, if there was one serious thing I would go back to, all right, and by the way, this might sound ridiculous. I'm dead serious. I would go to the Appomattox Courthouse when Robert E. Lee surrendered to General Ulysses S. Grant, and I would pull him by his shoulders and go, hey, dude, I know you're all about honor and respect and all that crap. Will you please issue a statement to all of your soon-to-be descendants and tell them that you lost and you're okay with it, and just to get on with it and be Americans. Because as a Southerner, let me tell you something. There's nothing I can't stand more than Southern people saying, like, man, let me tell you something about the war of Northern aggression. No, shut up. Shut up. The South lost, and they should have lost, and they were trying to destroy the nation. Yeah. So get on with it. Like, Robert E. Lee, and Robert E. Lee, to his credit, he did have quotes about, like people asked him about him being honored after the war, and he kept saying, no, we need to move on as one country. We did this thing. He actually said, the Lord has decided and we lost. I mean, he put it in God's hands, for crying out loud. I wish everybody had paid a little more close attention to their fallen leader who admitted and said, no, we lost. The Lord made his decision. Let's get on with it. That's just me being a bitter Southerner about other bitter Southerners.
Well, they probably, like you just mentioned, probably wouldn't have done any good. What about, the big one that people talk about, would you guys be interested in going back, say the Cretaceous period, about 100 million years ago, and checking out the dinosaurs in their habitat?
Yeah, I can see it for a minute. It'd be pretty good. I would just to see if it's really how close to, how much from the study of just a bunch of bones can we really,
right.
What if you went back and you saw it and they looked nothing like what we think they look like? Like
that's the thing. Now the Tyrannosaurus Rex is a big bird. Lots of feathers all over it and stuff like that. We're only guessing that these things were, what were they called, horrible lizards? Is that what dinosaur means?
What if the dinosaurs were really
Terrible
just
lizard.
giant? What if they were just giant humans?
We've been here forever.
You guys are weird, man.
That'd be cool to see. I'll tell you what, I'd want to camp out on a little patch of land outside of Roswell, New Mexico, and be witness to the most significant event for my people, my conspiracy theory brethren, and greet our extraterrestrial visitors all neighborly like.
That would be cool until they zap you.
They wouldn't do that to me.
Dude, well, didn't they crash? Wouldn't you just be looking at carnage?
Well, sure.
I mean, it was an accident scene. Yeah.
You guys made it this far and you couldn't land?
Yeah.
Come on.
God, geez. Amateurs.
I'm trying to think of ways to, cut Tony open so I can see if he has green blood.
Wow.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah,
just get
knife.
a sword.
I would use a knife.
Ways.
Yeah.
Wait
Get
till
a
he's
sword.
asleep.
No, it's gotta be.
Hand him a bottle of hooch and a sword, and then
Right.
you're halfway home.
Yeah. It's gotta be like he's gotta do it, and I gotta see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's gotten more complicated.
Why not?
Just ask to see his genitalia. That's always different
Oh,
on
my
aliens.
God.
It would be different.
I did, in the summer of 1984, I did time travel for an hour every single day, Monday through Friday, for one summer. And it was the greatest time of my life. And it went like this. I lived with my brother, and I got home at the end of my workday about an hour before he did. And every day during that hour, I watched both Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy. And then he got home, and the same episodes aired on another channel.
Oh, my God, that's
and
hilarious.
I kicked his ass all summer in a way. I mean, I would guess Wheel of Fortune answers with no letters turned over. And he would look at me and go, my God. And I'd be like, I'm just getting lucky.
Yeah.
And then on Jeopardy, I would let him get an early lead and then just roar back in Double Jeopardy every single day. And at the very last day, I was moving back into the dorm at the end of the summer, and I just said, man, I can't believe I can't get any of these answers. I mean, I usually write the answers down. He looked at me, he's like, what? And I told him, and I let him know what was happening, and he was so angry. He had a summer of frustration in one moment coming at me. I was like, come on, man. Surely you didn't think I was this smart. He's like, he was so pissed off. It all came bubbling over, and I was like, man, time travel's awesome.
Yeah, he felt so inferior.
He did. I killed him all summer.
Oh, my God, the greatest summer of your life. And he must have, because some of those categories, especially when you get down there to the 800s, he must have been, there's no way you can know what Michelangelo had for dinner when he was 46.
Well, the funniest ones was actually Wheel of Fortune, because he'd go, okay, it's the final spin. Here's your final clue. And I would go, lasagna. And he'd be like, what? And I'd go, I don't know. I had 7 letters. I just had lasagna on the brain or whatever it would be. He was so angry.
Sure,
and then when I told him the truth, it literally 2.5 months of rage all came back at once. It was great.
That's amazing.
Truly a highlight. Hey, Hairball is rocks the benefit. Is rocks Hairball, the band, rocks the benefit to the Isanti Fire District. That's Saturday at the Isanti Rodeo Ground. Join Lisa Miller and the KQ crew from 6 to 8. You can grab prizes and swag, followed by, of course, Hairball. Get your tickets at 92kqrs.com.
I love it. We have well over 100 comments on the KQ Morning Show Facebook page this morning. When did your parents give you the talk? Your stories of that sex talk, either receiving it or giving it. Maple Grove Lock and Safe Talk and text line 651-989-ROCK. Always more fun for us to hear from you in person. But, yeah, a lot of great comments on there. I like Dean. When his parents gave him the talk, he said, wow, girls do that? Dean, welcome to the party. That sounds like a lot of fun. Get a hold of us here and let us know. We're talking about the sex talk at 9. Hang tight.
Oh, Billy. It's the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show, Wednesday, August the 6th. Good morning. Pink Floyd, have a cigar. Have a cigarette while you're at it. Hell, smoke a pipe, get a vape. I don't care. Just don't do it anywhere near me. I've lost my entire tolerance to anybody smoking anything in my presence. That's me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to judge you. I'm just going to leave the room because I don't like the way it smells. Call me crazy.
How about smoked meats?
Smoked meats is a whole different thing, Tony. You know that.
All right. That's right.
Don't press me, mister. Don't get between me and my smoked meats. Speaking of smoked meats, we were talking about sex all morning. No, we were talking about specifically the sex talk. The one you have as a parent, the one your parents had with you as a kid, or according to our Facebook page, the KQRS Facebook page, for a lot of people, the talk that never came.
No.
More than a few people commenting, my parents never gave me the talk. And then they all tend to go, well, I'm 56. Maybe it's time. You know, it's good shtick.
Yeah.
But looking back and realizing, yeah, it's never really happened. It's kind of crazy.
Or the parents that just veiled it so much, they went with some weird story, like my dad, you know. I told the story earlier this morning that my dad's was, my brother and I were standing out there just working on farm equipment. Mm-hmm. He stops right in the middle of working and says, you boys know what a good truck driver makes a good truck driver? You can pull in and back out without dumping your load. And that was our talk. I didn't know until many, many years later when I heard it as a punchline in a bar. How about Dan here on the KQ Facebook page? I was told to be careful when dipping your wick in the candle wax. It might feel good, but there's always a chance you'll get a burn of some kind. I was 14 and confused as F.
Well, that's interesting because during the commercial break, I had to pee, and gosh, did it burn? What do you think that means?
Oh, it's
I'm going to go to the clinic.
I'm kidding, Candace. I'm kidding.
Nude sunbathing, probably.
Pretty amazing that it seems like a lot of parents spent way more time and effort coming up with interesting euphemisms than it would have taken to simply say, this is how it works.
Yeah, this is a boy has a penis and the girl has the vagina and the boy puts the, just right. Yeah. Get clinical about that'll probably scare them more than anything you could possibly come up with, like a euphemism, like you talked about.
Yeah.
Well, just hearing your mom or dad say penis and vagina and putting one in the other is, that would have terrified me.
Well, if you'd grown up, you grew up on a farm. It didn't freak you out when you knew that animals were doing that.
Yeah.
And it might be a little strange the first time you realize people do it. But a sexpert, a sexuality and biology teacher, someone in England wrote an article. That's what led to this whole conversation. And she said by the time a kid is 8, they should have a working understanding of where babies come from. Not about sexuality and sexual pleasure, not about sex just as an act, but just the biological side of this. This is what you have. This is what they have. This is how babies are born, formed, I should say, because kids are curious. If they're already asking questions, they can handle it. And the one thing she says that's really important to do, and this is something 9 families out of 10 get wrong, is she says don't make up nicknames for genitalia. Because you don't make up nicknames for other body parts. So, if you do it for if you're going to call this boy's front office Big Jim and the Twins, that's going to be a problem because it's just going to put a different sort of emphasis on what's going on down there.
Yeah.
Like in my family, we referred to one's tongue as Satan's portal, and that was a mistake. And I get that. I totally get that.
But
the arches of our feet were the gates to hell. So sure, I get it. that was a mistake. Looking back, I can own that one. My bad entirely. Confused my kids to this day. No, this is just one of those things. And for everybody that looks back and remembers when somebody brought it to them, it's almost always not your parents. I mean, I had 7 older siblings. Trust me, I was getting just enough information to be really confused for years.
Yeah, that was it. Still, even when your friends would talk about it, you go, yeah, right, when we do that. What is that again?
Exactly.
You know, my dad used to always call the wiener a dong. I always thought that was so funny when I was growing up. The boy's dong. What?
The donger.
The dong. The donger.
These are interesting conversations always. And then we got a lot of comments on the Facebook page, too. School bus. A lot of people on the school bus learning about the facts of life.
Yeah, for sure.
Not the facts of life anybody would hope are real, because man, the stories you hear on that bus, they can distort a young impressionable mind, to be sure.
Right, and the kid talking about sex on the bus, by the way, probably didn't have it, and they're just putting together other things they've heard, and you're not getting some good 411 there.
This was my experience in life, not just in my own personal experience, but just with people, friends, as you grow older. The people who were at school talking about all the sex they were having absolutely weren't, and the people who had sex were really having a hard time discussing it. It was just like, oh, that was something. Anyway, I mean, it was not something. Maybe I just had a weird group of friends, but man, it was never something. There were braggarts, and they all turned out to be completely full of crap.
Right.
And then the people who were going down those roads, they were like, I don't think I want to talk about this. I'm not quite sure, for whatever reason, for shame or guilt or just respect for their partner, who knows? But it was a real early lesson in life to like, oh wait, you're completely full of it. Once you get a little experience yourself, you realize that's not how that went.
Yeah,
that's not that was, you didn't have sex like that till you were 30. Get over it.
Yeah, I think I stopped bragging about the sex I was having when I started having it. I know as a teenager I bragged a couple of times and totally did not. I would make up a girl. Oh no, she was visiting. She was visiting from where? Texas for the summer. Her family was staying here for a week, and they came out to the farm to pick some corn. You're lying. No, and we had sex.
Isn't it amazing how girls from Texas visit the other 49 states every summer?
They get around, those Texas girls.
That's exactly.
Especially the imaginary ones.
You didn't see her? She had red hair from Texas. I think red, well, kind of brown. Really more like mud, like the color of the mud. Really pretty. Her name was Kim. Her name was... She was cute.
And then when it really happened, and I could go brag about it, I was too embarrassed because of the reality of it. I was freaked out by the whole thing. First, here's what I do remember. I put on the album Loverboy, Turn Me Loose. I remember dropping the needle on Turn Me Loose, and before he started singing, I was done. I think that's a 31-second ramp. I'm not sure, but I remember when he started singing, I was laying there next to her going, that was great. How was I? Was that cool?
Wow.
Yeah.
One time never mind. I'll just save that to myself.
So, I'm sorry.
No, you tease. Come on,
you just
please.
murmured into a microphone. What was that?
We won't judge.
One time when I was hooking up with a guy in college, I had like my shuffle on my computer, which was on my desk, and I was on the top bunk. So a lot of interesting things came up. It was like something cool like Zeppelin and Ozzy, then like The Little Mermaid and Usher and Bootylicious and Fraser.
Was this with one guy? I mean, my God, I just talked about being done before Loverboy broke into the lyrics of Turn Me Loose, and you're 8 songs in.
It was really awkward.
Why'd you specify that you were on the top bunk?
Well, because I couldn't change the shuffle. That was the point. That's the punchline.
Couldn't reach the shuffle, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and you hadn't yet come up with your own Get It On list?
It was just a shuffle of my whole library, which was a big mistake.
Yeah, I'm thinking about my whole library in my laptop that goes back years and decades, and there would be like for every Otis Redding song that would really set the mood perfectly, it would immediately be followed by, sorry, I'm going to do this again. All right, take 2. The Lakers today with a 16-9 victory over the, and then wait, hold on. I have all these unnamed files of different radio bits from the road, whatever. I mean, it's be insane. Phone calls I've kept recorded that were like voicemails from people I care about who are no longer with us. Can you imagine that? Like you come out of Otis Redding, These Arms Are Mine, and then it's like, Hey, man, just want you to know I love you, man. I miss you. It's like, what the hell's wrong with you? Who's picking this music?
No kidding. Awkward.
That would be incredible. Oh, I would be remiss if I did not mention this story because this is probably the weirdest thing I've read all day. Speaking of awkward, speaking of humiliating moments, let's move away from the bedroom and just go to typical teen activities. The wedgie. The wedgie is one of the worst things that can happen to a young. I don't know how this works in the girls' side of the locker room, but on the boys' side of the schools, if somebody gives you a proper wedgie, you're just done for the day. There's no coming back from it. You're the guy that got wedgied. And if it's on the bus on the way to school, forget it. Just go home. Just don't even go into the classroom. Check this out. In 2013, a Marine Corps veteran, interestingly enough, was in a fight with his stepfather. The older guy was 58. The Marine Corps veteran was a young man in his 30s. The two of them had words. There was alcohol involved. And then they actually blew up and they threw hands. It came to fisticuffs. At the end of the fight, this guy named Brad Davis, his stepfather's on the ground. He beat him down. He decided, now I'm going to humiliate him. He gave his old stepfather, I should say, a wedgie. Pulled the elastic band up, but he went full metal jacket, the atomic wedgie. Oh. He picked him up by his underwear and then took the undergarments elastic band all the way up and over his stepfather's head.
What the? Jesus, man.
Left him on the floor laying there. The elastic band was around the man's throat and it cut off the air supply and he died.
No. Holy.
He killed a man with a wedgie. Now, I have been killed with a wedgie, I thought.
Yeah.
And it was just a humiliating afternoon in middle school. You can literally, as it turns out, kill a man by giving him the atomic wedgie.
Them was some sturdy briefs.
Yeah,
let me tell you, that's a Fruit of the Loom ad waiting to happen.
Yeah, no kidding. That you wouldn't want to probably make an ad out of that, but I'm thinking that sounds like an urban myth, doesn't it? That would have been shot around the school. We've been talking about the school bus this morning. Killed him with an atomic wedgie. No way.
No, my man literally had to. He went down. When the police were involved, he pled to a lesser charge, first-degree manslaughter. 4-year sentence in the books, but the judge did believe it was malicious enough to put him away for 30 years. What a crazy story.
Send him back to the Marines. They could use a guy like that for something, I guess. Right?
No kidding. But I tell you what, next time I see a guy coming at me and he's got a pair of Fruit of the Loom briefs and he's swinging them on his finger like a lifeguard whistle and he's looking at me kind of funny, I'm running. Trust me, I'm going to gazelle it right out of there. Well, you won't catch me.
Barry Cook at Wolsey High got the atomic wedgie, but it tore the underwear off. Remember that?
Oh, sure. Of course. Wedgie, the tear. Yeah.
Right. It would just pull them right out and come off, and that was a bad one, too.
Hey, if you want to catch Candace, check this out. You can meet up with our very own Candace from the KQ Morning Show and Leinenkugels. We're moving away from wedgies here. Yeah. Get your mind out of the gutter. Candace with Leinenkugels Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. at Cub Wine and Spirits in Champlin. Wow. Toasting the dog days of summer. You'll have a chance to win Leine's merch for your pup. Leine's paddles and gear for you, plus sample some Leinenkugel beer. Candace, you've done a few of these. I have to imagine they've been pretty fun.
Oh, there's so many doggies. Oh, I just have met so many friends.
The dog days of summer. Bring your pooch, get some pup gear, drink some beer, hang out with Candace, make the metal sign and a photo. It's going to be awesome.
Man. Yeah, I almost died at the last one. It was beautiful and sunny and hot, and then all of a sudden, the sky went black.
What the?
Whoa, wait, what? I saw the candle. This candle just lit itself. Gather around, children. I'll tell you the terrible tale of the storm of the century.
It was so scary.
It was scary.
But it was okay.
Luckily, you had all that Leinenkugel's beer to drink to ease your nerves.
You were good. And then thanks to Carol. Big shout out to listener Carol. She brought me a beautiful painting she painted for me of a goat. And it was beautiful and fun, and she was wearing a Fleetwood Mac T-shirt, and just, the greatest people in the world come out to see
Carol.
Hold on. Carol was wearing the shirt, or the goat in the painting was wearing the shirt?
Carol,
okay,
unfortunately.
She got all the numbers filled in on the painting?
No, it was real. She was inspired by my goats. Woo!
Everybody that was around on this day in 1977 knows this is the day that we lost the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley. Tom Petty, who we just heard, in 1961 visited his uncle, who was working on the set of an Elvis Presley film that was being shot in Ocala, Florida, a movie called Follow That Dream. So Tom Petty is a kid. He's 11 or 12 years old. He goes to the set, and he sees Elvis arrive one day in a fleet of white Cadillacs, he said in an interview. People were screaming, handing records over a chain link fence for him to sign. I remember that his hair was so black, the sunshine was glowing off of it.
Wow.
I was high for weeks. It lit a fever in me to get every record I could, and I really digested it. Elvis became the soundtrack of my early years. If I had seen Elvis Presley at 11 years old, I imagine I would have become Tom Petty as well.
Right. Yeah, he's like a superhero.
Yeah, that really is. I met Colonel Harlan Sanders when I was 13.
Yeah.
Now, that was pretty darn close to Elvis, but not quite as cool, but pretty cool. I did not pursue a life in chicken.
Right. I remember watching Wally Walker out at the State Fair with a cigarette once, midday DJ of ours, Steve. And I thought, that's the life for me.
Former Seattle Supersonic Wally Walker.
Wally
I was like,
Walker.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I didn't know there was a Supersonic. Yeah, we had our own Wally Walker here.
And he was doing what now?
Middays at KQ. He's smoking a cigarette at the fair. I thought, that's for me, man.
Smoking?
Yeah, at the fair.
Lung dart at the fair. Talk about it on the air the next day.
Absolutely.
Done. Boom. I went to a movie set when I was about 11 or 12 in Elkton, Kentucky. It was a made-for-TV film called Lawman Without a Gun, and it starred, wait for it, Louis Gossett Jr.
Wow.
This is right after The Deep came out, so he was pretty hot, and it was like, holy crap, I've seen that guy on the big screen, and here he is in front of me. It really was like kind of monstrous. Tony, first celebrity interaction of your life. Do you remember it?
Yeah, I do. It's really, really lame. At a hotel in Montana was George Lindsay, who played Goober Pyle.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing lame about Goober.
And I was too nervous to go up and say hi.
Too nervous. That's awesome. My sister was in a 10th grade performance of Alice in Wonderland at the high school, and after the show out in the lobby, one of my older brothers, what is Alice in Wonderland? There's playing cards or characters. There's the Queen of Hearts and a few others.
Right.
And my older brother said to me, you should get the Queen of Hearts autograph. No one's talking to her. And I was like, what? And he goes, go ask for her autograph. And I went up to a high school kid. I'm like 6. I'm like, can I have your autograph? And she looked at me like I had just stepped on her foot. She was like, what? Do you have a pen? I'm like, no. She's like, okay. And I just turned around and walked away. Thanks, you snotty Queen of Hearts. God. Just trying to give you a moment. Candace, first celebrity encounter, what was it?
Jessica Simpson. She was at Herberger's.
Oh, right.
Promoting her edible beauty product line. And she
why
just
would you
looked
want to
like
eat
an
your beauty
angel.
products?
It was something. It was the 90s. I don't know what to tell
Sustainable.
you.
Yeah, sustainable. Yeah. Better for the planet.
And you were how old, Candace?
I think 9.
That must have been pretty big.
Yeah, she just looked like a golden goddess.
Yeah, she did.
Sure.
I loved her.
What's she doing these days? What's old
chilling.
Jay Sim
She's
up
chilling.
to?
She's got a fashion line. She's
Does
chilling,
she?
man. Yeah, she's doing good.
All right. Yeah, didn't she make $1 billion doing that fashion line? She was some huge success, right?
Yeah.
Oh, bless her heart.
Did you ever keep in touch with Nick Lachey?
I don't think so.
Oh, that's a shame.
I don't like him anyway. So
No?
nope. I'm Team Jessica. Usually.
I was at a Kentucky Derby party, a big fundraiser, hoity-toity blue blood Kentucky Derby party years ago, the night before the Derby, and there was entertainment in the backyard of this house that included Travis Tritt and the 3 of the Jackson brothers, none of them named Michael, of course. And Nick Lachey.
That's pretty weird.
Nick Lachey got up at the house band and sang Mustang Sally. I'm not making this up.
No, is he a singer?
It was the weirdest thing. No, he's not a singer. He's terrible.
Right. What is he known for?
He was in a boy band, 98 Degrees.
Oh, he was a musician.
Yes.
Stop.
But why is he famous, though? What did he do to become famous?
He married Jessica Simpson.
Oh,
yeah, and they had that show.
You know who else was at that gig? Taylor Dane. Remember her?
Sure.
Yeah. And Barry Bonds was at the party after he retired. post-steroid Barry looked just like pre-steroid Barry. Skinny, small head again. I was happy to see him back.
What an odd group.
It was a
Fascinating.
Tom Brady was there. Travis Tritt was there. Kentucky Derby. I'm telling you, man, we got to get this show down to Louisville next year. It is an experience like no other. Mushrooms or no mushrooms. All right, let's look back. How about a history lesson? All right, August 16th, 1920. Bad day for Ray Chapman of the Cleveland Indians. He became the first and still to this day only Major League Baseball player to die on the field. He was beamed by New York Yankees pitcher Carl Mays, and he fell right where he stood, dead.
That'll teach him to...
And if you think about it, it's kind of a miracle that's happened once.
Well, they started wearing helmets, didn't they?
But you know, this didn't immediately get home. I mean, but you'd think back in the day, man, they were still whipping that ball in the 80s back then.
I bet they didn't crowd the plate.
No, I guarantee not when old Carl Mays got on the hill the next time. That's true. Yeah. On this day in 1948, interestingly enough, you may call him the Elvis Presley of baseball. On August 16th, 1948, Babe Ruth died. Anybody realize Babe and the King share a death day? He was only 53 years old.
Yeah.
That was a long, old 53 for George Herman Ruth. I mean, you look at the pictures of him later in life, that man looks like a 75-year-old these days.
The KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.